So the show that we're going to discuss is Adolescence, that went out on Netflix about a week and a half ago. I believe it was last weekend, the weekend before last. It came out.
Or, I don't know. But
I feel like I started watching it the weekend before last, but then I got sick and now it just literally, I can't pay attention because you really do need to pay attention. And I think that does tie in the influence of screen time, social media, anxiety in children, bullying, and all that kind of like ties in together. And it was a good watch.
but also the parents.
The parenting styles.
The parenting style.
The parenting style.
There's a reason he didn't want mom. He didn't want mom as his designated adult.
Yeah.
Because it was his dad who gave him a free pass all the time.
Yep.
It was dad who blindly believed him over everything and anything. And we didn't understand that until the very end. Although we should have understood this because the detective also has the same parenting style.
Yeah.
If the scene opens up with him
on the phone with his son, yeah.
His son. So he too had the same parenting style.
Yeah.
Which I was like, now I can connect all these dots.
Yeah.
But and this thing that they were talking about in the show, it's actually it's a real thing. Mm-hmm. The emojis with the hearts and all this stuff. It's a thing, and it's in our schools. And yeah, I didn't know about it until I watched the show.
Yeah.
And asked my son, I said, is this a thing? He's like, yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Cause like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so all these hearts have all these like meanings.
It's like a code, so your parents don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. I feel like there was like something like that when I was growing up. I don't remember. At this point, it was so long ago. But in AOL, there were also like certain things that you could send that meant different things, and that was kind of like or songs that you were putting the lyrics of the songs to indicate like what's going on in your life.
Right.
But I do think that amount of social media that we have, the different social media platforms we have, is driving for bullying to go up, because a lot of, I wouldn't say statistically, but a lot of the stories I heard about where kids are committing suicide, it is directly linked to being bullied on social media.
This wasn't even suicide.
Right.
And also, this was like kind of a two-way bullying.
Yeah.
Because she was also not without fault.
Right.
But, I mean, granted, the thing that happened to her should never have happened.
Right.
But she was also bullying him.
Right.
And he was kind of not speaking to anyone about it, and he's taking it into his own hands. But also, when he was saying, I didn't do it, I really believed him.
Yeah.
I believed him, and I think he believed him.
Yeah.
I think he believed himself that he didn't do it. I think that he had some sort of block. I think it wasn't until the end, until that phone call, when he realized what he did.
Yeah, but I obviously knew he did something when they showed the video from this obvious camera.
But also they don't show his face. So you're still holding on to hope that maybe it's someone else's sweater or someone else's sneakers or something.
I knew that he did it. I had a feeling that he did it from the beginning, because he peed himself. Yes, there were signs. He peed himself when it happened.
Yes, he did. But
fear.
It's also fear.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's like a lot. I do watch a lot of serial killer murder.
Okay.
That's like my thing. The whole behaviors and how people react to certain situations. And when it is a traumatic event for him, and it does in children and even in adults, when something happens of that caliber, they like mask it. Like they close it off in their brain.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I don't think he even passed the peeing of himself. And when he when he was saying, I didn't do it, I really think part of him really believed he didn't do it. Because he even asked her, if you remember that scene with the psychiatrist in the holding cell, he said something like, the psychiatrist had to tell him that, no, she's not alive. I think maybe he thought that, like, he hurt her.
Right.
Like, badly.
Well, yeah, I don't think he came to terms with the fact that he killed her.
Right.
I mean, he's an 11-year-old child.
Right, exactly.
And the brain is not fully developed at that point. But he did also tell her, don't tell anybody what I did.
Yeah.
which is when, like, also he.
But then he
maybe
wanted to be,
subconsciously.
but then he also wanted for her to like him because he
Yes.
kept asking, "Do you think I'm
And
good?"
that, I think that has to do a lot with the bullying that he was getting. He wants to be well liked.
Or with this subculture that he was a part
Yeah.
of, with the emojis and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Because if you read up or on it, it's the whole like, we don't need the women and really,
Oh yeah, the whole Andrew, the Tate.
yeah.
I forgot his.
That is, everything in life happens because of the women, and
Yeah.
because we get rejected by women, and you have to show that we don't need these women. So I think, like, for him, it was so important for this psychiatrist, who was a woman, to like him.
Yeah.
And he kept wanting to, even though he was 11, but she's a woman. And he kept asking for, well, do you like me?
Mm.
Well, do you like me?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a difficult show. It left an impression.
I watched a lot of similar. I think for me, the hardest thing to watch was the dad's reaction when dad came to realization.
Yeah.
At the very end, when he walked into his room.
Yeah.
And we started looking around. Yeah. And he said, I should have done better. And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was for me, it was the hardest thing to watch because I came to terms with what he did. I mean, I watched so much of that. Like, to me, murder is nothing. Like, let's be real. This is what I want. Okay. On a Friday night.
Don't get into a fight with Katie.
No, I'm not gonna kill you. But I do like to watch shows about serial killers, murder, how to catch, all of that. Like, even when there was a show where they did interviews with serial killers and the whole, like, it's interesting to me.
Bro, I get it. I get the whole thing, but also he's 11.
I know.
That was my whole thing, is that he's 11. So the first 2 episodes I watched by myself. Then the second 2 episodes I watched with my son, who's 17 years old. And after the show, my son just sat there staring at me. And he doesn't watch these kind of shows.
Yeah.
So he just sat there staring at me. And I'm like, what'd you think? And he goes, did you want him to be innocent? I'm like, yeah. He goes, me too. I really was hoping he would be innocent.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's such a cute kid.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's just playing this, he's kind of playing double sides, because you do see him go off the handle and you do see him get aggressive. But at the same time, he's a kid. Yeah. And, the way he talks to his dad and the way he talks to the police, it's just like, is there a chance? Is there a small chance that he is innocent?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a really good show. But you know what it really did remind me of? I don't know if you read the book Defending Jacob.
No. I watched so many shows that it's like...
So it was very similar. It was very, very similar. But Defending Jacob, I read, actually, before I watched the show. The book was better than the show.
Always.
Right. I remember that when I finished Defending Jacob, I was just, like, sat there for a very long time trying to process what exactly just happened.
Yeah.
So, because it was, like, one of the first books I read like that. And it was just, like, so real, and it could happen. And I already had my son, and I was just like, really gotta watch out.
Yeah.
Really have to pick up these signs. They're so thin.
Yeah.
It's so small.
There was recently also a show about, talking about killer kids. There was a show called Under the Bridge on Hulu. And it was like a series. They were releasing it every week. It was about a group of friends who bullied this girl. She ends up running away from home to fit in with these kids who lived in like a home for girls. And then in the end, they were like bullying her, and they ended up killing her. And then the cop was like investigating, like, why did you do it? And they were aware that they did it. And they took her boots to keep in there. And one of the girls kept it in her closet as a reminder of what she had done.
That's sick. That's sick.
And so
that's like another level of psychopath.
And it was actually based on a true story.
Oh, really?
Yes. What had actually happened.
Really?
Yep. I watch a lot of, like, based on true story. Because, I mean, and it's true. And it's like, if you look at, like, obviously, psychology of people, not just children, you have your neighbor. You don't even know who they are.
Oh, I don't know who my neighbor is.
Well, like, so there's, you hear these stories, like the serial killers, they're the most normal people that you wouldn't suspect for the most part. There's people who have families. There's people who have children who are teachers, jobs, and you don't even know who you work with sometimes. That's why those psychology tests are so important.
It's true. There are people who walk among us weren't okay.
Yeah.
And it's not our job to make them okay.
Right.
And it's not our job to make sure that they're okay. This is not our job. But
it is our job as parents
it is our job as
to
parents
catch these things, to prevent them.